So today I'm just going to give you a recipe and a few ideas to do some Halloween cupcakes. So basically it's a basic cupcake recipe and then just some thoughts of fun things you can do with the kids to create some Halloween cupcakes with buttercream and fondant icing, etc. I'm not the most creative of people to do this anyway, so it's really just giving you some ideas for you to go away and think of. The full recipe for the cupcakes is on the blog at www.howtomakecakes.co.uk. So here are the ingredients that we need for the vanilla cupcakes. First of all, butter, 120 grams at room temperature, then 400 grams of caster sugar, 360 grams of plain flour, plus 1.5 tablespoons of baking powder and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We're going to have 3 eggs, 350 milliliters of milk, ideally whole milk or semi-skimmed if you don't have whole milk, and then we'll have 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So the way this recipe works is we're actually going to mix together the sugar, the flour, the baking powder, salt and the butter, and we'll get sort of a breadcrumb texture, and then we're going to mix the other ingredients in. First thing is we'll put our butter in. You see I'm using a Kenwood chair, if you can use an electric whisk or do it by hand. So put the butter in, all of the caster sugar in, and then we've got the flour, the salt and the baking powder. I don't bother sieving it for this, you don't really need to. Put all that in and we'll mix that together and it will get like a breadcrumb consistency. So once that's whisked around, as you can see, it gets a sort of breadcrumb type consistency. So once that's done, we go to the other ingredients and add the eggs into the milk, and we're going to add our vanilla essence and just whisk that together a little bit before adding it in. 2, 3 eggs. And then I'm going to use a teaspoon of vanilla extract. That will make them quite vanilla flavoured, so use a little bit less if you're not so keen on a very strong flavour. So put them all together and then just with a fork just lightly whisk them so that the eggs start to get whisked into the milk. So once you've sort of lightly whisked that up, add about 3/4 of it first of all, and then we'll add the rest in a while. So sort of pour most of it in, and then we'll just whisk that together. So once that's been going for a while, just put the rest in and whisk that up, and that's our cake mixture. So that should be a fairly runny, nice cake batter. So just take it off and make sure that it's all well mixed in. It is quite a runny mixture, but that makes a nice moist cupcake. So because this is quite a runny mixture, what I'm actually going to do is just pour it into a jug and pour it in the cases like that, which is just a bit quicker than spooning it in. So you want to fill the cases about 2/3 of the way up. So again, I've just got cases in a cupcake tin, so pour it in about 2/3 full. So once you've filled all the cases with the mixture, they'll go in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes on 190 degrees centigrade. So if you have a fan setting, don't use that, just use the conventional oven setting for about 15 to 20 minutes. After 15 or 20 minutes, they should just start to go slightly brown on top, be springy to the touch, and if you have a cake tester, just test and that should come out clean. So they look done. So we'll take those out and just leave them to cool for a few minutes in the tin before we take them out and put them on. So now we've made the batch of cupcakes and they've cooled. I'm just going to come up with a few ideas of how to sort of decorate them in Halloween style. So first of all, I'll make some buttercream up, and I've got some orange dye and some black dye. I've got a couple of tubes of icing. I've got some ready to roll fondant icing and some sort of cookie cutters to shape Halloween things, a few sprinkles. So it's really as much as your imagination can do it. I'll just come up with a few ideas and see how they go. So the first thing to do is just to make up some buttercream. Here I've just got 100 grams of butter at room temperature, 200 grams of icing sugar and a little bit of water, boiling water. So I'm just going to start by softening the butter a little bit. So once that's just softened up a bit, just add in your icing sugar and maybe just a tablespoon or so of water just to help mix it together, maybe a couple of tablespoons. And then slowly, so that you don't create too much of a cloud of dust, slowly mix that together. So you'll see it all starts to come together. Let's turn it up a little bit. And there you've got your basic buttercream. Just whisk it a bit so it goes a bit lighter in colour. And then we'll separate it and put the food colouring. I've separated these out into two bowls just to colour them. I've actually got different types of food colouring here, and they are a little bit different. This is a sort of tangerine apricot colour, this is a black one, and I think the black one probably just comes out in drops like that. Whereas this one's a little bit thicker, so you actually need to sort of spoon that out a little bit and mix it in. So you just really have to use the colour and have a play with it and see how well it works. So I'm just mixing the orange one in. Actually, that's quite a nice bright orange colour actually. I wasn't sure it was going to be. So you just mix that in. Perhaps just as you saw, it's just a very little bit. It makes nice bright orange. The black one, again, I haven't put very much in at all yet, so I think it might need a bit more. So a few more drops of the black. We don't really want it to be grey, we want it to be black. I think, again, probably a bit more of that. So mix those up, and then you've got your base for your decoration. The first thing I'm going to do is like a spider's web design. So I just get some of the orange buttercream, spread it over the cake, and then I'm going to use the black writing icing just to create the spider's web effect. So have your cupcake with the orange buttercream, and then using this writing icing, just sort of put a blob in the middle, and then some lines going down to the end. About 5 or 6 going round. This is great for kids to have a go at, 'cause it's easy to do as well. And then just sort of join them up. So then go round like this, and you'll have a sort of spider's web effect. Something like that. So with the black buttercream, I'm just going to have a go at making like a spider or a bug or something. So I've just covered a cupcake in the black buttercream, and then actually I've got some of these strawberry laces, but you know, black laces would probably work better actually. And I've just cut them up into strands that can be their legs, and sort of push them in as legs. And then we'll put a little face on it as well. See, I've just put some legs on and put some eyes on, I don't know, as creative as you want to be, but something like that to create a sort of Halloween spider or bug. So now I'm just going to use some of the fondant icing. So with this, just put a bit of icing sugar down on the work surface, and then we'll just roll this out, and then you can cut it into whatever shape you want. So it's quite firm, so use a bit of force and just roll it out so that it's fairly thin, and then we can cut it into whatever shape we want. So once you've rolled it out, I've got these sort of cookie cutters here, so it's just, you put a shape in there and then it just sort of cuts out an embossed shape. So this is obviously a pumpkin, so I just put this on, press it right down, and there you've got sort of a pumpkin shape. So I'll just sort of then cut that out a little bit more out of the oven. Cut round that shape then. Obviously if you don't have a cookie cutter, you can just draw it on if you're very clever, or you can trace it from something else. So with that one, I think that can just sit on top of a black buttercream. Yeah, that looks quite cool. So this cookie cutter also has a trick or treat stamp, but obviously you can just write on this fondant icing, you can do whatever you can, but so I've just sort of done that, cut it out into a square, and again that can just sit on top of some black buttercream there. Whoops. And then there's this one, which is a boo one and a ghost, which I think I'll do the other way around, so we'll have some orange buttercream and some black. So the other thing to do is to just use the writing icing just to write on them. Boo. So they're just a few ideas anyway. So there you can see, basically a mix of buttercream, fondant icing, writing icing, anything else you have in the cupboards, and as much imagination as you or the kids have probably. And there you are, some Halloween cupcakes. Don't forget, full recipe on the blog at www.howtomakecakes.co.uk.